Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. I put out a call on the MD official Facebook page as well as on the Noble forum of musculardevelopment.com for some questions. Got some good ones, so many that I'm going to only answer a few of them and keep the rest of them in store and answer them a little later date, maybe later this week. First one came from the Facebook page. A gentleman named Bruce Ford asked me a really good question. How do you feel about bodybuilders who have a serious amount of tattoos? Can that undermine their professional chances? I find them distracting and unfortunate, but that's just my opinion. So I do have a strong opinion about this, and it's not what you think. To look at me, I have a full sleeve. I have a few on my back. I have a lot of tattoos. Not as many as some people. Some people have their entire backs covered. They have full sleeves on both arms, chest, stomach. You know, they're like the Yakuza. And that's fine for going around the gym, the beach, you live your life, get all the ink you want. It's your body. Nobody can tell you what to do with it. If you want to put that type of artwork on your body, it's permanent. That's your choice. Now, when it comes to bodybuilding, we are judging the physique, and we're judging so many different things that can be marred or impeded by an excessive amount of tattoos. First of all, we're looking at shape and symmetry, the flow of the body. So if you have a lot of random tattoos, say one leg is clean of tattoos, the other one has a huge tattoo covering like the side of your leg, that right there, that throws your symmetry and balance off. Same thing if you have, and here I go, I'm guilty of this myself. I have one sleeve, and then I have one arm that's at least from the elbow up to the shoulder is clean. So that's really not very symmetrical either. Things like that. They're going to definitely throw off that aspect of your physique when you're looking at it visually and you're being judged against other people who have no tattoos. It's just a clean slate, and you can honestly assess everything without anything distracting. If you have a lot of tattoos, another issue that comes up is it's hard to really gauge the definition, your condition. I've seen people with full back pieces. Their entire back is covered in tattoos, and it's very difficult at times to tell if that person has any definition in their back or not. Sometimes it's impossible for me to say, looking at it, is that back something that's still like 8 to 12 weeks out and blurry, or is it ripped? But I just really can't see it because it's covered with color tattoos and black and white and all this going on. So your condition can definitely be hampered, or it's hard to discern. It's hard to tell what your condition is if you have a lot of tattoos. Obviously, your silhouette is not affected. You know, you're looking at the shape of the body, the size of the body, but that's just a very small part. A lot of people have a great silhouette, but then once you start breaking things down, not so much. So I would say that if you're planning on going to a very high level in competition, if you aspire to be a professional bodybuilder, figure competitor, what have you, I would probably not get any tattoos at all. Maybe if you're going to get them, get like a little, there are certain places where they're not going to distract, and they're small. If you get like a little one across the top of your back or the bottom of your back, if you're a girl, hopefully, maybe a little bit of script on a forearm or something, that's not going to be distracting. But when you're getting full sleeves, when you're getting full back pieces, when you're getting your chest covered, your abs covered, you're getting a thigh, the side of your leg covered, yeah, that's definitely going to be very distracting. It's going to break up the flow of your physique. Personally, I wouldn't do it because you don't want anything that's going to hurt your chances. You want no disadvantages because you're already going up against people. And once you especially get to the professional level, everyone at the pro level has earned their way there by winning some sort of national championship. These people are all very good. They typically all have great genetics. They all work hard. They all get the good supplements. So it's a very tough playing field. A lot of people who are excellent amateurs never amount to anything as a pro because, you know, like I said, it's a whole new level. And now you're up against other people with your gifts, or maybe even better gifts than you. So any advantage you want that you can get, you want to take, and any disadvantage you want to try to eliminate. If you already have the tattoos, you know, oh well, what are you going to do? You're going to get them removed. That's usually not a good look. It looks like a burn scar or something. But I would say get all the tattoos you want if you want to, it's your life and your body. But be advised to realize that if you're going to be competing and if you aspire to compete at a high level, especially if you want to turn pro and compete against other professionals as a professional athlete, professional bodybuilder, figure competitor, classic physique, whatever, a lot of tattoos is going to hurt you. Sorry to say. And it's nothing in the rules, I don't think. It's just, it's distracting. It is. Okay, next question I'm going to tackle, also from Facebook. Wanted to know, I think it was from this gentleman, Armin Memick, which bodybuilder's training regimen and style of training do you rate as optimal? I would not say that any one bodybuilder's style of training is optimal for everybody all the time. I do think a lot of them would serve you well to try for limited amounts of time. Something like the Dorian Yates Blood and Guts, which is lower volume, higher intensity. You're hitting the body parts less frequency. That would work very well for a lot of people for a certain amount of time. Then maybe their joints would get burnt out. Or their body would just adapt to it eventually. Even though you're increasing the intensity over time, your body would still eventually probably do better if you switched over to higher volume for a time. Something like, the Ronnie Coleman or the Lee Haney style of training, where you're hitting body parts twice a week, more different exercises for each body part, a lot of sets, a lot of reps. The Mike Mentzer heavy duty, which is kind of similar to what Dorian was doing, something like that with a lot of rest days and short, very heavy, very intense workouts would work for a little while. And none of these things work great for everybody, which is why I urge people to try a lot of different systems, a lot of methods of different bodybuilders, a lot of coaches, and you can also pick and choose. You don't have to just follow one guy's thing. Like, there's techniques that you can get from everybody, like Hani Rambod's FST training system. I think the sevens is the most useful part across the board for most people, which is 7 sets of an exercise performed with just 30 seconds of rest in between. So a set of curls, 10 to 12 reps, rest for 30 seconds, set of curls, over and over until you've hit 7. The pump you get with something like that is fantastic. So why not combine that with bits and pieces of other people's training styles or theories or programs that you find work well for you? That's what I would advise. So you try a lot of different methods. You pick and choose the best parts of each that work best for you, that your body responds best to. And, like I said, your body will adapt over time to anything. So there's no point in following one set regimen forever. One set regimen or program or style is never going to be the best for you forever. Even things like as you age, things like the low reps, like 4 to 6 reps. Skip LaCour and Jeff Willett used to follow this system. I can't recall what's called it right now, but it was based on very heavy training, low volume of sets, very heavy, 4 to 6 reps. I used to train that way with reps in that range when I was younger, in my 20s and even into probably about my mid 30s. But the injuries and the strain of my connective tissues and joints, it became too much. And eventually I had to pretty much abandon that rep range. So there you go. Something like that might work for you when you're younger and healthy, and then later on it might not. DC training is another thing I tried that works really well for me. It's based on progressively increasing your resistance through various techniques over time, consistently. So you're getting stronger and stronger, and you get bigger. I do believe most people are going to hit a point where they've either maxed out on their strength, which I know it's going to take a long time for most people. But if you start that system, you've already been training 20, 25 years or something, you're not going to get a whole lot stronger. I had to abandon it because I was having a lot of injuries, issues with my shoulder, with tendonitis, which turned out to be a partially torn right tricep, and I didn't know until I fully tore it a little bit later. Lower back, just things didn't allow me to consistently move up in weight on exercises that I wanted to, like overhead presses, squats, deadlifts. But had I been younger and healthier, had I followed the DC training system in my 20s or maybe even my early 30s, I think I would have done much better on it because, I would have had more leeway to make progress on it. Next question from Jesse Carlton. How to eat and stay full for a cutting regimen. Everybody wants to stay full. And let's break it down to natural bodybuilders versus assisted bodybuilders, because these are two entirely different worlds when it comes to contest prep and getting lean. As a natural bodybuilder, you're not going to stay full. You're going to get flatter. You're going to lose some muscle tissue as you get down to very, very low body fat. There's no way around it. You don't have the anabolic environment to preserve the muscle tissue. And there have been studies, clinical trials following natural bodybuilders as they diet, and their hormone levels, like their testosterone levels, they drop way down. And yes, their cortisol levels go up because that's the body's natural response to what they're trying to do, which is they're trying to keep all their muscle and lose as much fat as possible. In a natural situation, that's just not possible. You're going to either have to not get as lean as you would like if you want to keep more muscle, or you're going to have to lose some muscle to get shredded. Go to natural shows, and I don't want to get into the whole argument about these guys aren't really natural. I've been to many where I could tell most, if not all of them, were natural. Walking around in the lobby, their shirts were hanging off them. They didn't look like anything special, trust me. Up on stage, they were shredded. They weren't huge. Big muscular guys, no doubt. But when I'm used to seeing guys like Heath and Rolly Winkler and Big Ramy, and compared to the guys who are loaded up on other things, the natural guys don't look like much size-wise. So the whole idea of staying full, if you're drug-free, forget about it, because I've seen that obsession or that concern lead to a lot of guys and girls not getting in shape. They want to stay big and full, and they reach a certain point where it becomes clear to them that they're losing muscle. So they either cut their cardio, or they increase their calories and or carbs, or they do all the above. And they show up bigger and fuller than most of the other people there at the contest, but they're not in shape, and they usually don't do very well. They usually get their asses handed to them at these natural shows by people that are shredded and not nearly as big or full. But being big and full doesn't matter if you're not in shape. That's the reality of bodybuilding competition, competitive bodybuilding. A lot of people need to get through their heads, because every contest I go to, I can see a lot of people still don't get that concept. Yeah, bodybuilding is not just about being big. You have to be lean, ripped, very, very low body fat to display the muscles properly and see all the separations and striations and splits. You can't see that if it's covered by fat, even a little bit, a little bit more fat. I think a lot of people don't have a realistic concept or idea of how lean you're supposed to be. And this even goes for people who have competed and who have been to many shows. They still can't get through their heads. Now, staying big and full as a bodybuilder who's using chemicals, totally different situation. It is doable, obviously. I'm not going to get into the specifics because I'm not a prep coach. I am a prep coach, but I'm not a prep coach who specializes in working with assisted athletes and coming up with these awesome cycles involving every hormone, peptide, and all that good stuff. I'm just not as up on all that stuff as a lot of these coaches are. But they'll do things like run certain compounds. They'll have you use a lot of insulin on days where their carbs are higher. They work around insulin and carbs, different peptides, different drugs. Like I've heard a lot of guys will run Anadrol in their prep just to stay fuller. So it is possible, and that's why we have people on stage at 220, 30, 50, 70, 280 pounds, shredded, ripped, and they're big and full. Because you can do that with the right genetics to build that size, and then the right drugs to keep that size while you cut down. Last question. This came from Heroes Fall on the No Bull Forum. What was your most memorable Olympia victory from an unexpected result point of view? He also asked, what about a pro show? I'm just going to stick to Olympias. I've been to most of the Mr. Olympia contests since 1991. That was the first one I went to. And I still, after all these years, would say just last month in Las Vegas, the 2018 Mr. Olympia was the most unexpected Olympia result I've ever seen, because I'd been to Olympias where Dorian was not in the greatest shape. He still won. He had one bicep torn, still won. I've been to Olympias where Ronnie Coleman was not in shape, still won. I've been to Olympias where Jay Cutler was not in shape, he still won. And Phil Heath was in great shape. Midsection was bulging out on the side, bulging out. He wasn't controlling it between poses. It was a distraction. But I still thought, based on all the Mr. Olympia contests I've been to, and there have been many of them, he would retain the title. He would win, because that's what I've seen happen over and over, time and time again at the Mr. Olympia contest. The Mr. Olympia champ has kept his title. You have to be way off. And I've heard a theory that someone put out there on MD that you can do, the Olympia winner can show up, Olympia champ can show up 1 year out of shape and they'll let it slide. But 2 years in a row, boom, you're out. I don't know. I don't think the judges ever got together and said, yeah, you know what? We let Phil slide last year. This time it's just too much. We got to make an example out of him. I don't know if there was ever that level of collusion, if you will. Who knows? But that was the most shocking result because, like I said, I've seen guys like Levroni, like Sean Ray, like Flex Wheeler, where I would have probably given it to them instead of Mr. Olympia, Victor Martinez, on that particular day, on that night. And yet Mr. Olympia still kept his title. This time he did not. So, yeah, I'm pretty shocked. As far as a shocking Mr. Olympia, the most shocking Olympia win I've seen was probably 2009 when Jay Cutler came back after having been beaten by Dexter Jackson the year before, and Jay was off in 2008. And a lot of people wrote him off. I didn't necessarily write him off, but, Dexter looked really good. I did not expect Jay to come back streamlined and just shredded to the max. And he was. Condition-wise, that was the best Jay's ever been, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody was expecting it, especially, 2007 he was off to Victor. There you go. 2008 he was a little off, lost to Dexter. I'm sorry. Victor did not win. Jay kept the title, then Dexter beat him the next year. So he'd been off 2 years in a row. So if there was a pattern there, it was he was probably not going to be that great in 2009. But got with Hani Rambod, came in with the faux hawk, sliced and diced, cut to ribbons, stole the show. First Mr. Olympia to ever lose the title and get it back in the sport's history. Maybe Phil Heath will do that again next year. We'll see if he becomes the next man to do that. We'll see. Who knows? And yeah, that was an exciting year. Nobody expected Jay to look like that. It was crazy. Special credit to Branch. Branch looked freaking great that year too. Best Branch has ever looked. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to start trying to keep these a little bit shorter because people have no attention span. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. Please subscribe to the MD YouTube page, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.